All right. Well, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Where you at, or you just got back home?
I'm back home. I um, got a regular monthly down here, but I have a day job, so the summer's kind of when I tour more, and then I work in schools. So trying to do some more out of town stuff, and I'd say every month and a half or 2 months, I go back up to the Bay Area, and I have friends down here that I roll around with a little bit more, and I run a monthly at a brewery in Arcadia called Mount Low, and I do that with a friend named Zach Vile. So I guess we're a comedy group, but we don't even have like a production name or anything. We just happen to run the show together. I mean, I claim Bay Area, and I feel like that's where I kind of came up in comedy, and now I'm an LA comic, I guess, and trying to just be more of an LA comic. And that, like, for a while when you move down here, it's so hard to get stage time that you end up going back to your hometown a lot. And I'm just trying to embrace this community a little more. I hope to host an open mic on Mondays here and just pay my dues at the LA clubs and hang out a little more and go to their open mics and shit like that.
Those kind of people like to be solo out there in LA, or do you feel that it's kind of more open to comics coming in and getting more time?
Uh, I don't know if it's any different LA from a different place as far as solo. It is a spread out city, so like I personally just have a tougher time just being like, hey, let's roll the mics together because it's like, and then I have to fucking drive an extra half hour to go pick you up or whatever and do that on the way back. And it's just so I end up rolling solo a little more. But there are people with little crews, I feel like, and it just depends. I think partly kind of where you came up, like the people who came up in a different place end up knowing other Chicago people or whatever, but people who came up here a little bit more. But then people kind of gravitate towards each other, and I feel like even areas of town are kind of have a different vibe. Like the East Side's a little more, I don't know, a little more alty type people, whereas the West Side and stuff like that's a little more club type. But that's there are no rules for anything. I think just we're all just trying to figure it out down here, and there's no real fucking handbook for it. And you make friends with whoever you make friends with, and um, but it's also like it's tough to do, and so you can't feel like you're counting on other people for it. You just kind of have to make your own successes. I feel for certain bookers in terms of just how annoying and hard it is to promote, and how like one little thing going wrong in a bad show, get the money comes out of your own pocket, and so it depends on where. Like I feel like kind of smaller towns, the venue will be a little more cool about the door deal they set up, or maybe even pay you to have a comedy show there. Whereas here, it's like I know people are renting venues here, and we the show I have right now it's free, but we get a decent amount for tips and end up paying comics about $20 each. But we're sinking money into the show. It's an outdoor show. We're each month buying lights for it or doing something extra and trying to advertise it and stuff like that. And it's just you pluses and minuses as far as like I have a day job, so that's not where my money's really coming in from. But I'm doing this to try to get to know other comics and give myself good stage time and give cool comics good stage time. And that's one nice thing about LA is there's so many good comics down here, like big names who still need their stage time to work on their jokes and everything. So you can get some pretty huge people to do your show for. It's not really a money thing. It's just what I'm saying. They
Yes,
just want
stage time,
to do a
the
cool show.
experience. Uh,
Yeah,
as far as I
just get out
know,
there.
in booking people, there was always I didn't want to put people in like boxes as far as their style of comedy, but I definitely recognize that certain people had a pattern in their comedy, whether it be the way that they spoke and telling jokes, or pretty much the style of telling jokes. Um, Not to put you in a box, but do you feel that you have a particular style of comedy, or do you feel that you're just still figuring out exactly how you're or do you have different styles of comedy that you like to do?
People have described me uh, as being definitely. I mean, and you've seen me on stage or whatever. I'm a little more laid back, and I try to be kind of conversational and natural up there. And some people call it dry. And then as far as subject matter, just mostly stuff from my life, and then I'll just exaggerate or put tags on that aren't real. But yeah, a friend told me once that my jokes, I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. You kind of have to meet me halfway and like be listening for it. And some people like that, some people less. I don't know. I'm open if you have any comments. I'm looking to write a better bio because I was writing. I have a shitty bio and I need to redo it. But
No, I don't think I have. I think what your
just,
friend said made pretty sense. It's kind of you you're kind of laid back, but you're not disinterested in conversation.
I would like to work a little bit more on talking to the audience and stuff like that, but it's mostly stuff I've written and tinkered with, and um,
Oh, the shorts that you make,
yeah, that's it.
I know I see
You
those
still
all
getting
the
up?
time. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I check them out all the time, and then I know pretty much anybody I've booked, I've followed them on YouTube. So I usually watch people's YouTube channels. You, Jonesy, Esther Koo, like anybody I've ever booked, I if they have a some type of subscription, I usually have kept up with them and
That's been. I mean, we were talking about figuring out the new. There's no path or whatever, but that's a new way that everybody's doing it. It's just making their own path online and kind of blowing themselves up off TikTok or YouTube or whatever. And I see friends doing it, and I've had a couple clips go like viral on TikTok, especially. I had one last year that was the crazy one. It was like the fifth TikTok I put up, and uh, in 3 days it got 3.3 million views, and it's at 4.2 million right now. It's
yeah.
like, I don't know, my brother lives in Germany. Friends of his were coming up like, "Hey, is this your brother right here?" And fucking hell, old students of mine, and all kinds of people, and then just about a month ago, I had another one that's at like 1.8 million or whatever. But to know that it kind of can happen, and I need to be more consistent with it. I think friends of mine who are really seeing success off it are just posting something pretty much every day or 5 days a week or something like that. And I don't know. I don't know if I write quick enough to do that. So I kind of need to come up with some other thing where I'm talking about events of the day or doing some little, I don't know, man on the
You do
street shit
have
or something
some
like
random stuff that you make that is kind of like that. I mean,
that. He
I
froze.
remember when you were doing exercise parks, or no, it wasn't the exercise park. It was just parks in general, right? You were doing like Yelp reviews for parks.
For a little bit during the pandemic, especially, I had a job. I was delivering weed, so during the day, I would spend a lot of time just at parks, uh, in between deliveries and shit like that, because they have free bathrooms and just it's a place to kick it. And yeah, in my Instagram stories, I would just review the parks during my off time, and I like that you brought that up. Actually, I like the silly little dumb thing, but I kind of wanted to make it a thing and maybe like take a different comic to a park every time and talk to the people at the park like what makes this good and shit on a park that sucks or whatever and fucking I don't know. Parks have a weird special place in my heart. Um, so yeah, I might still try to do that as little YouTube videos or something like that. Try to get a drone. I don't know, comics and everything. We're trying to be in this creative space, and it's the best. But it's also awesome doing fucking podcasts or making little videos or whatever. And you can't expect to be awesome at those right off the bat. So the more experience you get with it, and just I need to heed my own advice, but have all the equipment and everything for it. I just haven't started my podcast, but you need to start sometime. And just your second one will be better than your first one, and 50 ones in, it'll be much better than it was 10 podcasts in and everything. So props to you for doing it, and yeah, any experience you can get, it'll help you down the road.
No, definitely doing different shows have brought me again. Like I've met different people from. I should do a podcast on philosophy, which I'm not the greatest at, and it's just something I enjoy reading. And I thought I'd do a podcast on it. And then I started meeting professors. I started meeting people from other states who just wanted to promote some type of program that they had dealing with philosophy. I met this guy over, I forget what state it was, but it was like mid America, and he taught stoicism. So he just talked a lot about um, their beliefs about their philosophy, which is stoicism, and they were mostly people who were recovering addicts, and so they used these writings from different philosophers to discuss like their addictions and why they needed to be, sober, and it worked for certain people.
Oh yeah. Um, yeah, that's right. I want to. Again, I'm not going to talk about this podcast. I am going to do what you're going to hear from me. I have like three different podcasts. I kind of wanted. I just want to have a solo one where I talk to comics like this. I want to have one where I talk to educators because I've been in teaching or schools for about 10 years now, and I think they have some good stories, and I think other teachers would relate. And then I've just always been a big hip hop head, so I'm going to start one where I just touch on different rappers I like each episode, and um, but yeah, I haven't yet, so good on you for actually doing it.
Ask me a hip hop question. What would be a good hip hop question just to like show that I don't know shit about hip hop?
Um, ask you a hip hop question.
Yeah, yeah. Just like ask me a couple of hip hop questions because I don't know
I,
shit about hip hop or music.
Three rappers who rap for Death Row Records.
Oh, at Death Row Records, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Dr. Dre.
That's it. It's a softball. There you go. So you know more than you think, buddy.
Yeah, but those are like the mainstream ones. I
Tupac,
don't know
Snoop Dogg.
why. Was it Warren G one? Was Warren G? I only know those guys because I met what's his name, Daz from he always sings with Corrupt. I forgot the name of their group. It's Dog Pound, is it?
No, I would talk about stuff from the East Coast and West Coast and underground and more popular, but yeah, partly like a lot of students I have get into rap, and then I want to recommend a bunch of shit to them, and I almost want to just in my head I was like, I want to start a show where I could just go tell them to fucking go to my podcast, and Spotify has a thing now with Anchor where you can do you can use any songs you want that are on Spotify and mix them into your show. So
Oh, that's
that
what's
was the
up.
plan.
You used to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the math one too, is right?
I started for a second. I'd like to go back to it. I was playing around with doing little videos where I do like math problems. Like if you look where I am right now, I got a little whiteboard above, and just um, doing math problems, but with like kind of bad math, little twist on it, and being like real math problems, but talking about drugs and sex and shit like that. Um, and maybe doing those little TikTok videos, and then also I was thinking about also just doing like on a Sunday afternoon like this, having the camera up higher and just doing math. No, that I got from an Indian restaurant,
Oh shit. Okay.
but they just had a shirt, and I asked the dude for it.
What do you call it?
I should make them. Be kind of fun.
What do you call it? Do you kind of feel pressured that you're supposed to do like all kinds of stuff? You're supposed to have a website, you're supposed to have a YouTube channel, you're supposed to have, well, not that you're supposed to have it, but people will come up with different things. Like I know you said, there's no blueprint, but there's definitely people like who feel that there
Yeah,
is
it'd be
one.
better if I did. I'm not very good at that side of it all. But yeah, I mean, merch is just a way to for me to make some money that I'm not taking advantage of. So my website's something that's it's sad that I don't have a good website actually because that's something I'm 11 years in, and my brother had done it for me, but then it was kind of fucked up, and then oh, excuses. But that's mattcurry.com. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, it'll be better. Check on it, see. And then just please follow me on Instagram, Matt Curry Comedy. That's my Twitter also, and TikTok. I'm Matt Curry Rules. And yeah, watch out for. I'll be posting announcements about my upcoming podcasts and stuff like that that I'm going to create. And you're catching me right before a big wave of fucking productivity, people. Um, and yeah, I got some shows coming up in the Bay again. Please just follow me on Instagram for everything for now. There's a link tree up there that will link to all the different things I do. And You can do some algebra with me on a weekend on Twitch. They really do have a surprisingly good comedy scene, both in German and in English. Like the summer before the pandemic, I was there for a week, and I chose like 5 nights in a row in English, and some nights more than one show, and be too intentional with what I'm writing to write to somebody, and I just kind of want to write what's on my mind, but I do sometimes feel like the jokes that have gone big have been a little bit school related. I think partly because there's a lot of high schoolers or whatever on TikTok and shit like that. Some
But
of
you
the
do have a style that's it's very it's unique and it's pretty good, man. I really like that style that you have, man. I hope you keep it up and continue to grow. People get to hear it more because I guess I don't know how to describe it. Again, I don't want to put nobody in a box. It's just the way I know you're. I don't even know if you're doing it on purpose, but sometimes it feels like the just the way you tell stories are pretty funny and like I said, your style of just kind of chilling and um uh
yeah, I appreciate it.
yeah,
Some
it's
people
like
have said I have like an interesting cadence or like the way, and I do feel like something that is good, possibly for me having a future in it. People say if people can imitate you, it's a good thing because it means you have a unique way of talking or being, and then so it's just good to be unique in this world or whatever. So um, I don't know. I don't know if it's the best style for comedy, and I'm pretty awkward and this and that, but I think it's me, and it's something I can keep doing as me, and I don't feel fake up there or whatever. And so we'll see. And I appreciate you, man. You've been supportive from early on, and brought me out to Bakersfield to a super fun show,
for sure.
and
I'll send you
yeah,
the links of the two places. There is a place called The Well um, that just recently is run by a local comic as well, which is great because he incorporates a lot of local people, and then he brings people from LA and Vegas, people traveling through. It's a legit comedy club. Then they got another club called the
cool.
Laughing Stock, same thing as well, putting on a lot of local comics. And then there's been a lot of growth in the individual comics. I would say like maybe when you came out here there was I don't know maybe 20 comics, 30 comics. Now I would say now there's a good like 70 something, man, that people that just do I
I
what?
said, are you getting up much yourself? Are
You
you
know
getting
what?
up on
I
stage?
actually I was doing comedy and then I had a comic who was taking me booking me for like shows in like Vegas, up in by the Bay Area, and then I did some my own. I went to like did a couple shows in Toronto and then New York.
Sick.
Those that's all been like since I think the last time I saw you, but I ended up getting like a well like usual I got like I was just spending all my time doing that. I was doing social work, so I would just early in the morning and then late
There you go.
afternoon, and so then I would like I like stopped going to really just didn't have time to be doing comedy. I just really kind of just enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
um, I think recently in the last like 3 months, I left that job and then just kind of went back into comedy because that was like the next thing I wanted to do. So it's just priorities and different things that happen. So I'm just kind of picking up from probably like 3 years ago and getting back to doing new material, doing um, getting back to my cadence of how I do comedy. On myself, I'm kind of laid back. When I first started, obviously, like I had kind of like I still feel I have like shitty jokes, but it's over time. You just get better at it. And then I do like kind of cheat. I buy like comedy books and stuff, and I read them. And some people have some good pointers as far as like trying to expand a joke or trying to embellish a joke. Um, one guy I like is I think I saw it somewhere. Where the fuck I was just reading it earlier. I was gonna read it. Um, I think it's Pete Garrett or something like that. He has a couple books, but anyways, and then
Interesting.
I have like I have a book on a philosophy book on comedy as well. Um, I like yeah, I mean I just kind of read different stuff to
Yeah.
see like if there's any ideas of like ways to write a joke a little bit and or different styles because like I didn't did you yourself did you just do comedy by going to open mics or did you start going to like comedy school because I met people who've gone to comedy school. I didn't know until like about 2 years ago that existed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to possibly, but I didn't. I like secretly kept a notebook for a few years before doing comedy for the first time, and then a guy at my work was doing it, and I was kind of jealous and was went and saw him, and he did fine. He didn't bomb, he didn't crush, but it made me like, all right, fucking, if Daniel can do this, I can do this, and then I was actually living in LA. This was like 12 years ago, um, and I went on Craigslist that night and I looked up like stand-up comedy or something like that, and there was a person saying, "Have you always wanted to try stand-up comedy?" And it was basically, bringer shows, and it was the show. He gave you tickets, but he sold them to you, and you could sell them to other people. And I actually, yeah, I was at the Comedy Store for my first time, and it went surprisingly well. I had been thinking about these jokes for like years, honestly, so I had enough for a little 6 minutes or whatever, and um, I think that going well kind of helped gas my head up a little and made me think I was a lot better than I really was for the first year or so. But it made me definitely stick with it because I thought like we're fucking, I'm in the right place. Um, I do remember before that, like when I was secretly keeping a notebook and all this, I was kind of how you are as far as like trying to consume other articles on how to do stand up, and I read a book that was um, Jeff somebody Dean. I don't know, it's a kind of famous one, um, and I think that did teach me like some little principles about like and just little like move the mic stand when you get up there or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I could probably get something out of reading those again. My writing's kind of stagnant right now. I could use a little kick in the ass.
Is there so is there things you do to start writing comedy? Do you is it a lot just more just again writing, or do you just try to hit more open mics, or you just try to do more book shows?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends how much real stage time I'm getting as far as like if I have a bunch of book shows, if I have like a week in the Bay or something, then I'll try to do some new stuff. I'll throw it in there. But down here, I don't get as many cool shows, so I just try to kill and make other people. And I'm still doing new stuff because just old stuff isn't as good necessarily. Or I think audiences can kind of tell that your heart's not in it the same way if you've been doing a joke for 5 years or something. As far as if instead of a joke that's like 6 months old that you're stoked on, but um, yeah, open mics. I host an open mic on Mondays down here in LA. That's where I first introduce ideas that I'll write in my phone or something like that, and then try to write it out on a piece of paper. And the open mics aren't necessarily the best gauge because it's all comics down here for the most part, so you don't necessarily sometimes you almost think all your shit sucks because it's just not a very good, I don't know, environment for comedy. But I kind of need to just say it through a microphone regardless, and feel the nerves on stage and just say it enough times on stage with those nerves to like have it be smooth and shit like that.